Good evening. So, jumping on tonight to answer questions from small businesses or from aspiring data professionals that are starting their data journey. Also, wanted to talk through, some things like how to write some Python scripts, how to manage your secrets with parameter files and for Python scripts, how to manage your keys, things like that, passwords. Um, as well as just general questions. I mean, it sometimes these live streams can stray away from the main topic quite a bit, uh, but I'm here to kind of go with the flow and have semi-open office hours. This is my first Tuesday evening one. Um, Normally, I do these on Friday evenings from 10 to 11 ish Eastern time. So for those of you that are interested in my open office hours, you could jump on Friday evenings around 10. I'm usually on by about then, and I answer questions about what is hot topics in data engineering, as well as if you have any SQL questions or just general questions on how to manage your data. So tonight, let's jump into talking a little bit about how to handle your own personal sensitive information. So things like your passwords, your keys. They're things called keys that you need in order to access things like APIs. If you don't know what an API is, be sure to check out our video on APIs. We do have a video that we recorded several weeks ago on what is an API and how to access it and things like that. So, have some current Python videos that we're doing right now, current series on basic Python, just have gone from file operations into uh, this next one's going to be how to access QuickBooks data. So how to pull QuickBooks data and move it into a SQL server with a Python script, and then how to schedule that Python script so that it runs however often you want it to run, whether it be hourly, daily, however often you'd like that information, so that you can refresh reporting, things like that. Um, We'll also be talking over the next several weeks on how to do the same thing from Square so that all of your Square data is in one place and can be combined with your QuickBooks data. If you have HubSpot to manage some of your marketing and things like that, then also how to hit that HubSpot API with your Python script and pull that all into one place um, and schedule that all yourself. I'm not like I'm looking for you to uh, eh, just make it all up on your own. I'll give you the Python scripts, and you can just adjust them for the parameters that you have, whether so that you could put in your own API key and your own passwords and things like that, and pull all that data yourself. So I'll be doing that over the next several weeks. But let's jump into talking about a little bit about secrets. So secrets are what we refer to what we call things like passwords, API keys, um, any type of credentials. How you get in? It's how you get into things, how you access things. Normally, credentials and things like that are not something you want to put in your code itself. So in your Python scripts, definitely not in a SQL script. Um, try not to put those things in your files because oftentimes those files get pushed into like a repository online, so like a just a file storage location online, and you don't want those things sitting out online where everybody can see them, right? You want to make sure that you have secured your information so that everybody, the whole world, doesn't have access to it. Um, so those are secrets. There are many ways to handle secrets. This is just what I'll be talking about tonight is just one of them. Other ways to handle secrets are a lot of cloud systems. Every cloud system has a way to handle secrets. You in Azure, there are key vaults. In AWS, there's Secrets Manager. Google has their own resource for handling secrets. Every cloud instance has their own way of managing and handling those secrets, um, and they're all fantastic. They all do a great job of storing those secrets privately and securely so that nobody else has access to them if only the people that you've explicitly given access to, um, and systems that you've given access to. So, and you could access those, a lot of those with every one of those with Python as well, using the various Python libraries to access those. Um, for AWS, there's the Bodo 3 library. For Azure, there are multiple Azure libraries, Python libraries that you could install on your computer in order to access those various resources. So I'm going to share my screen and show you the script. Maybe figure out which screen to share. There it is. All right. So over here, I just have a real simple Python script that I wrote in order to um, store my secrets in a parameters file, and uh, then I use this. This is called a module. So I use this module and this function to get my secrets. Now, if you missed it, I also demoed this in a recent video that was accidentally accidentally put out on Sunday instead of over the week this week. But check that video out on Python functions and modules, uh, so that you too can learn to be a programmer. I mean, at least learn how to code a little bit so that you can secure some of your secrets. Um, So I have this function that I called get param. Again, just get parameters, right? So I have the parameter name that gets passed in. The parameter file, I have a default to where my where my parameters file is on my computer. Uh, you can take this same script and change this parameter file location to be where you store your secrets. Now, important fact here: when you are storing your secrets in a text file, I'm going to show you real quick kind of what that looks like. Um, so I'm putting pound here just because I want to comment out this line. So pound is not how you would start um, your line in your text file, but name whatever it is that you want to name it. If it is your SQL Server password, then name it SQL underscore password. But name it whatever it is that you want to name it that makes sense for you. Um, if you have any questions on data engineering or what I'm doing right now on the screen with Python, be sure to pop them in the comments. I'm happy to answer any questions, even if it's not necessarily directed towards what I'm looking at right now. Um, so when you're adding parameters or when you're adding secrets to your parameters file, name them something that you're going to remember, something that you're going to understand. Um, you name it something real simple, SQL password, and then just an equal sign, no spaces, and again, no spaces afterwards, no quotes or parentheses or anything like that. And then you're going to put in whatever your password is. Obviously, this is not my password, but we're going to put that in there, and that's all you do. And then you go on to the next line and enter in again another parameter, whatever you want to call that secret, and then put in whatever the secret is. Um, And so what you do from there is once you have those in that file, this is where you put that file name. And then when you're calling this function, so a way to, you call the function like this, right? Over here in this is my QuickBooks, one of my QuickBooks Python files that I'm using for some testing for our next video. Um, but you'll put your tiered GP. I'm calling the file that we're just looking at is called get parameters. So I'm importing get parameters, which is that file as GP. Um, so gp.getParam, which is the name of that function in that file, and then whatever you named your secret. So if it's SQL password, then you'll put SQL underscore password. Here it's my QuickBooks client ID, so it's QB underscore client ID, and this retrieves that client ID from my parameters file. This way, I don't have to explicitly put in here and show the whole world what my QuickBooks client ID is. And when I'm doing my videos, when I publish the script out to Git, it doesn't have those secrets in there. And so, important that you keep your secrets private. Uh, you don't want to share them with the world. So, coming back here a little bit about what this function does, it creates this dictionary. So when you see these curly brackets, it's creating a data structure called a dictionary. So I'm creating a data structure called params, and then it's going to say this with open. And so what that does is with kind of, you're saying with this thing, I want to do all of these other things, right? Um, And so we're going to say with open and then pass in that parameter file, that path for that parameter file. And then R just means read. So very simply read, and then as file, right? And this is just like in SQL when we're aliasing things. We're saying as file, this as file, so that we are referencing this parameter file further on down the line as this name. And in this case, it's file. So for each line in the file, it's going to figure out what the key and what the value is. So the key is whatever you named your secret, and then the value is whatever your secret is. Right? Whatever, whether it's your password or an API key or whatever. Um, it's going to go through and split based on the equal sign. So that's what this is doing. So for that line, it's going to strip and split based on where that equal sign is, and then separate it out between the key and the value. And then for the param key, it's going to say equals value. And then for the parameter value, it's going to say param's parameter value. And it's going to set that in that dictionary. It's going to set the parameter file, sorry, parameter value as whatever the parameter name that you're asking for. So when you ask for SQL password, then it'll return SQL password and set that as the parameter value. And then the function is going to return that parameter value so that you could use it further on in your script. Now, these other two things are really just things that I added to it for demonstration purposes when I was doing the video that I posted this past weekend. So that's really all these are. So very simple and very easy way to help to make your passwords and your secrets a little bit more secure than putting them in the file itself. But so wanted to have something to talk about as I started this live stream. But the question for tonight is, what's holding you back from mastering your data? If you're a small business, what's holding you back from mastering your data? And if you are an aspiring data engineer, what is holding you back from applying to a data engineer position? Uh, I mean, for some of you, for some, right now, it might be that there are no entry level data engineer positions that you could find. Um, and if that's the case, then I would push you to find something that you could do either in your current job or as a side project that you could start to continue to build those skills and develop a portfolio of things that you can show people and talk about when you do get a chance to apply for a data engineering position. Um, for those of you that are small businesses, I would say don't be afraid of it. Uh, no matter what, start learning something. You start learning how to manage your data. There are plenty of tools out there that you could go out and get for free, whether you're an aspiring data engineer or a small business, and start to learn how to manage your data. if you're a small business, even if you're just starting with Excel or Google Sheets, it's better than where you were, right? I mean, it's better than not having anything that at all and just continuing to rely on whatever it is that you've got. So, so don't be afraid of starting that journey. Again, if anybody's got any questions, be sure to pop them in the chat. I'm happy to talk about any questions, whatever's on your mind tonight. Um, with respect to data professions, I suppose we could get into other things too, but generally, with respect to data analytics or engineering or science or something along those lines. Um, so again, it don't be afraid of it. Don't be. It can look overwhelming. It sounds overwhelming. I know it doesn't always have to be the super high tech thing. I'll also say that don't be afraid of AI. I mean, if um, if you're interested in data engineering, data analytics, figuring out how to gain insights from your data, whether you're a aspiring data engineer or a small business, go out, use AI, and ask it questions, and it will at least start to lead you down that path. Um, the information you always get from AI isn't always super accurate, so definitely take it with a grain of salt, and you may have to troubleshoot some things as you're going through it, but but don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to get out there and try things. Don't be afraid to break things. If you're you're not trying if you're not breaking something. If and breaking things is the best way to learn. Um, but it, there is for small businesses, so like um, my wife has her own small business as well, and so yeah, there are so many tools out there that small businesses use that are disjointed, right? You might have QuickBooks, you might have Square, you might have a whole nother system that does your customer manage, your customer management. Um, so all those things are get kind of disjointed, and data doesn't flow easily necessarily from one to the other. You definitely don't have all your data in one place to be able to report on it. Things like getting all your information to submit to your accountant at the end of each quarter, at the end of each year, can be challenging, and it can be a headache. Just imagine if you can get a process to where all that data is feeding into one place. You could go once a quarter or once a year, hit a button, and it automatically send an email to your accountant with all the information that they need from all the various systems that you use to manage your business. Um, and that's possible with a data warehouse, right? That's the one of the big points is to be able to make your life easier. Um, Managing data doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something that you could start doing now. Um, so that's my pitch to small businesses is they don't be afraid of it. There are so many tools out there that are free or low cost. It doesn't have to break the bank to start managing your data. Um, so get out there, and if you have questions about what those tools might be, I have done a video about it, but shoot me a message. I'm happy to shoot me an email. Email is chris.gambill, gambill, at data engineer gambilldataengineering.com, and I'm happy to answer any questions offline as well, with at that email address. So uh, yeah. So for those aspiring data engineers out there, for those of you that maybe are aspiring data engineers or data analysts, or even data scientists, I would again, if you're a mid-career changer and you are already deep in like a sales career and you're wanting to move into a data profession, I there's always opportunities where you're at for things to be more automated, for things to utilize data that maybe you're not utilizing today. And I would encourage you to figure out what those are and go ahead and start doing it. Take the initiative to go out and start wrangling that data, start managing, pulling that data, building some type of report, building some type of analytics, and start learning. That's how you always everybody learns, right? Is by doing. Um, so go out, find some data, and start automating a process. Not only will it make you look good in your current role, uh, but it starts to help you build those skills and build that portfolio for when you're ready to jump into an actual data title. Um, so don't be afraid to do that. A lot of people, it's hard, that market's hard right now for a lot of, tech roles. There are a ton of mid-level and senior level positions out there, not a ton of entry level data positions. But it, one, broaden your perspective, right? Make sure that you are looking for titles that are not necessarily data engineer or data scientist or uh, data analyst. Could be a business analyst. It could be a ETL developer. Could be a even QA. Right? I mean, there are plenty of people that are QA testers that they utilize things like SQL, right? They're writing SQL queries in order to do some of their testing. And so those are still ways to get into that tech field and start to build those skills and start to show off some of those skills. Um, Sometimes just getting your foot in the door is the hardest piece. Get your foot in the door and you'll be able to start building those skills and moving up into a data analyst or data engineer position or even data scientist position. So don't be afraid to apply for something. Um, and the other recommendation that I always give as well is when you're looking at job recs, if you fit 50% of it, 60% of it, apply for it. That shows up on a job rec is a wish list. There's been so many times that I've looked at a job rec and they ask for more years of experience with something than that thing's actually been around, whether it be a programming language or specific piece of software. There's been so many job recs I've seen over the years that um, they'll ask for 10 years of Azure and it's 2014, and so it just not just wasn't available at that point. So it, take some of those required skills on a job rec with a grain of salt. Make sure that if it looks like an interesting job, looks like an interesting career, you feel comfortable with the fact that you could grow into it, I'd say apply for it. It's not your job to figure out if you're a good fit. It's their job to figure out if you're a good fit. So apply for it. Shoot your application out, send an email to the hiring manager, send an email out to the recruiter and say, "Hey, I'm super excited about this position." Be upfront and honest with uh, your current skill level and let them make that decision. A lot of times, that eagerness to learn, that excitement for the position is going to outweigh somebody that maybe hits more of the points on that job rec, but they don't have that energy, they don't have that excitement, they don't have that fit for the current team, they don't have the personality fit for for the rest of the team, and uh, and those things are more important than somebody that might walk in with all the skills that maybe has a bigger ego. It is so difficult to deal with ego. It I would you know When I was a director, I would always take the person that is excited to learn over the person that knows everything and carries themselves and acts like they know everything. So it, be humble, be personable, be honest, um, but don't let the job rec itself and the requirements on the job rec scare you away from applying to the position if it's something that looks like you'd really love. Um, Don't miss out on an opportunity because you said no to yourself. So go out there, don't say no to yourself. Walk into the interview, be honest, be truthful, um, and you'll get something. You'll eventually get something that you really want. Um, so there are going back to how to master your data. There are so many tools out there, and some of them again are low cost, some of them are free, some of them are super expensive. So it, so you have to be careful. Um, I would as an aspiring data engineer or an aspiring data analyst, I would definitely go out and make sure that you are familiar with some of the cloud platforms. At least know what they are, right? Understand that GCP is Google Cloud, understand that AWS is Amazon, and understand that Azure is Microsoft. Um, and go out and try one of them. But Google Cloud, there's a lot of free services there. They each have a lot of free services that they provide, and those free services are there as kind of a hook, but they're also there so that aspiring data professionals can learn from them. Uh, so don't be afraid to jump into one of those cloud platforms and start playing with it. A lot of them provide a $300 credit upfront for the first 90 days that you could use to start learning those tools. Um, so be sure to jump out there and get into some of that. And I've had a few people jump on and then jump back off. Um, So again, any questions, be sure to put them in the chat. Um, Happy to talk through any of the things. Am I even just looking to make sure that I'm not muted or something and people aren't just aren't telling me. Hopefully I'm not muted. Um, I did a stream a while back, and my first stream I did was I was muted for 30 minutes and nobody said anything. So hopefully I'm not muted. Um, so for those of you that have joined, be sure to put your questions in the chat. Happy to talk through any of the questions that you may have about moving into a data profession, whether that be a mid-career change or you're going from high school or university into the data profession, or if you're a small business, happy to answer any questions that you may have about getting in, starting your data journey, and moving through how to start managing your data. Uh, yeah, be sure to just put them in the chat, whatever you've got tonight. So, see a couple of people on. I am. Yep. So like I was talking about, just wrapped up a video on subqueries. So kind of I try to bounce back to SQL, even though we're mid, uh, Python series right now, so that people that are still looking for building those SQL skills can still get those. I did a video just wrapping up. I think it's probably posted by now, probably finished posting by now, on subqueries. So, if that's something you're interested in, be sure to check that out. Um, but just talking through what subqueries are, where they could be in the in your query, showing how you could do an inline subquery within your SQL select statement, showing how you could do a subquery in your from clause, and then also showing how you could use a subquery for your where criteria, so for your filtering piece. And talk through at the very end, kind of threw in here is an example of a subquery that could be replaced with a window function, right? Just to kind of show that differentiator there, as far as readability and as far as efficiency, right? Window functions are more efficient than subqueries, especially when you get into millions and millions of records. If you're sitting at, 1,000 records, probably won't matter either way. But as you continue to get more and more data, uh, as you're approaching that million record mark, you'll start to see some slowdowns from subqueries that you may need to migrate over into a CTE or into a window function or something like that in order to get out of that subquery piece. Subqueries are sometimes a necessity. Sometimes you don't have an option. Sometimes subquery is the option. Um, Definitely, subqueries are great for learning. You're definitely going to run into subqueries as you go through your career. If you're an aspiring data professional, you're going to. I've seen subqueries sometimes 4 and 5 layers deep, where it's a subquery within a subquery within a subquery, and when you're looking at potentially 3 4,000 lines of SQL and you start hitting those nested subqueries like that, it could get challenging. um, and my recommendation is always to start stripping out those subqueries and looking at them step by step by step and building them back out from the inside out, um, so that you could kind of see what that logic was if you're having a hard time figuring out what the logic is for those different pieces and why somebody did it, because the person that did it may be 3 4 times removed by the time you get to it. um, you may be you may have inherited from somebody that inherited it from somebody that inherited it just as many times as that subquery is nested in itself. Um, so it's important to learn how to troubleshoot those subqueries, and uh, so that you could refactor them later on. A lot of times, there's so many times that as a data engineer, I've had to do things what I call the quick and dirty way in order to get something out, in order to get something out the door. Um, with, we all have the best of intentions that we're going to go back and resolve our tech debt. Um, and it doesn't happen. That's the reality. A band-aid becomes a permanent fixture. So as you're moving through your career, uh, keep that in mind. If somebody asks you to put a band-aid on something, know that it's probably going to be a permanent fixture. Um, so that's all my random pieces of advice for a Tuesday evening with just a few people popping on and it being kind of quiet. So again, hey, Fancy, some of those book titles you have to the right there. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for asking. So I have a ton of books. I love books. I love reading. Um, for those of you that maybe don't know, it is getting ready to be some Amazon Prime Days next week on the 8th and 9th. So there will be some deals out there. So be sure to check those out. But I do have some books here. I have a ton of books in this room. But let's talk through some of them. One of them are these really cool, for those of you that might be going into data analytics or data analysis. I have these really cool data storytelling cards. Um, and they're neat because they kind of walk you through um you know your audience, context, tale, envision and delivery. So you kind of build your own project based on what's in these data storytelling cards, and the storytelling cards help to prompt you to build your story around your data. To They help you to ask the right questions, help you to be prepared to answer the right questions. So yeah, so these data storytelling cards, they're really cool. um but of all these books over here, hold on, you know what, Fancy, I have these two here. These are two of my favorites. The sequel pocket guide is it's on, I think this one is probably like the seventh edition. No, this is the second edition, but I think that they're on their third or fourth. The sequel pocket guide has been around forever. Um, when I first started getting into data engineering, there was a sequel pocket guide, and it was about this size then too. The cool thing about this is that it will tell you for a function, um, it will tell you the syntax for like each of the different SQL syntax. So it'll tell you like how to write a date diff function in SQL Server, in Oracle, in MySQL, and it'll go through each of those and explain the syntax and kind of walk you through, provide you with an example. There's a really easy index at the back uh, to find things. It is super cool. Again, I've had one of these my whole career. I don't use it a ton, but like here, this one right here, recursive width. So this is how to do a recursive CTE. Um, so lots of cool stuff in here, lots of value that you get from a tiny book. I think it's 14 when I got this last I got my last version of this, it was 14.99. So not super expensive. Um Again, a lot it's an O'Reilly book. Uh lots of lots of value and benefit from that the sequel pocket guide and and then, Python pocket reference. Same thing, ton of value in a tiny book. Um really gives you a lot of information really quickly. uh, these two books for a data engineer or anybody going into data science, data engineering, first getting into it, it's good to have these in your back pocket. You don't know when you're not going to be able to access something online. You don't know when you're not going to be able to get to an AI to ask, or if that AI is going to give you an appropriate answer. Um, so those pocket guides are nice to have, and they're good kind of study guides if you want to grab something on your way to an interview and you know that you're gonna they have some type of coding practice, some type of coding exam when you're in there. Throw them in your car, have them in your car. Look through a few things that you kind of might be fuzzy on before you walk in there, and and kind of give yourself a refresher before you walk into your interview. So again, super small. Uh, Easy to carry around with you. Love those two books. For those of you that may be going into data data analysis or be a data analyst, this Measure What Matters um, walks through, and this is actually good for anybody that might be an SMB for a smaller medium business as well. So this book by John Doerr um, is amazing for talking through what a OKR is, so an operational key result, um, and explaining, which ones matter, which ones don't, uh, and it helps data people too, right? Because it helps you as you're doing your data analysis, as you're doing your data engineering. It helps you to build models and to build tools that are going to be beneficial for the business. Um, so this Measure What Matters is is an amazing book, and I'll put the Amazon links to these in the comments when after I wrap up the video, so that you have them as well. Um, the next one is Becoming a Data Head. This one's neat, and it's Alex Gutman and Jordan Goldmar. Um, there's some funny stories in here, but you know this is geared a little bit more to the data scientist side, um, but it's really cool. It's talking about, again, understanding not only what you're doing, but how to speak the talk as well as walk the walk, right? How to understand what you're doing and how it helps the business, in addition to how to communicate that with those stakeholders, because they're not going to be as technical as you. Um, so becoming a data head is really cool. Helps you to sound intelligent when you're speaking to maybe your C-suite people, and to help them to influence them along the way. Um, these last two that I have here are this one's Python programming. It is huge, but it is a great reference. Talks through some more advanced um, Python concepts and Python programming. But again, this is this is specifically geared towards the data professions as opposed to the the programming and maybe software development side of things. So this is data science, data analysis, machine learning with Python. Um, but but this one's a good one for a data professional that's looking to get into Python, that's looking to get into, especially for data science and machine learning. Um, so that one's great for that. This last one is one that I got when I went to uh, start studying for my Azure Data Engineer certificate. Um, this is a great walkthrough um, of all the things Azure. So even if you're not looking to get into uh, Azure Data Engineer position, if you're just looking to learn more about Azure, this is great. If you are a learn by reading person, this is a great resource to um, to really walk through. It gives you examples, some visual examples, as well as some written examples, so that you could really walk through and follow through um, in Azure as well. So great resource as you're maybe studying for your my pile fell over. As you're studying for your Azure Data Engineer certificate. Now, in addition, I also have this really cool The Babysitters Club. That's actually my daughter's that she left here for her library book. So there's always that. It's a little bit more visual, a little bit more fun, but she also has this glitch one that's a little bit more nerdy and a little bit more maybe in tune to data engineering. Um, but those are those. There's the only other thing I really have right here is this Python programming language reference guide. Um, I got this years ago when I first started learning Python, and it was helpful then. I don't, I put it up here because I wanted to reference it in one of my other videos. Uh, Honestly, I had to dig it out of my bookshelf, but it does a good job of talking about things like lambda functions and giving you step-by-step instructions about what different data structures are and things like that. So thank you, Fancy. Thanks for asking. Um, but yeah, I always try to have a few books here, hoping that one day somebody would ask the question of what are those books that you have beside you. So thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate it. But again, yeah, Amazon. There's some Amazon days coming up next week on the 8th and 9th. If you're not an Amazon Prime member, be sure to sign up so that you could get those deals. I love Amazon Prime. I use it all the time. And well, I use Audible all the time. And I have my Audible from my, yeah. I use my Audible account all the time. And so the Audible is a great resource that you could get through Amazon as well. But again, I'll be sure to put those links in the description of the video afterwards so that you have those links to those different books and these super cool data storytelling cards. Awesome. Fancy's my favorite. Fancy gets on here just about every time I jump on, so she asks great questions. Awesome. Very cool. So I think I'm gonna probably wrap it up here. It's getting to be 11 o'clock my time, um, and I don't have a whole lot of people on a Tuesday night. So again, if you have any questions, I'll hang out as long as there are questions and people jump on. Um, but for those of you that don't know yet, we do monthly programming challenges, monthly coding challenges. So the first one is just wrapping up from September. I'll do a code review on that and spotlight the person that won that coding challenge for this past month, kind of showing what they did and walking through what their solution was for the coding challenge. I will be launching the October coding challenge, which will be a little bit more complex and will last the full month here in a couple days. It is also going to be about SQL optimization, but with specifically around window functions. That is a question that's popped up, and when I've done my polls, window functions and SQL optimization seem to be the hot topics. So gonna do a coding challenge on that this month. And again, for those of you that aren't part of the Gamble Data Sphere, be sure to go and check out the Gamble Data Sphere. Uh, and it's gambledataengineering.com /services, and you'll see the link to get into the Gamble Data Sphere, and that's where I store all of the information for the coding challenges. So if you want to go back and do the September coding challenge, you could get in there and do that. If you do the coding challenge and submit a response, I'm happy to provide any feedback on that response. Hey, thanks for jumping on. Um, so I love it when you all jump back on. This is great. Uh, all my repeat people. I love y'all. Um, so yeah. So sorry, Gamble Data Sphere. Um, that's where I store all the coding challenge stuff. I'll also be starting to put out there all of the scripts that we use during the videos. That way you could go in and download those scripts. And if you have any questions, it gives you a place to go in and uh, sign up for the Discord channel that we have set up, and you could ask any questions in that Discord channel. I'm happy to go in and answer any questions about any of the videos that we've done, any of the Python scripts or SQL scripts that I put out there, or any of the coding challenges. So be sure to join the Gamble Data Sphere. It's slowly growing, not quickly growing, but slowly growing. So if you want to be part of a growing community, and we all try to, I am going to try to encourage people as they move through their data journey. So that's kind of why I'm building that, is to build that community. But I've started to clearly build a little bit of a community here when I do these live streams. You all keep on joining, so I appreciate it. Hopefully, y'all actually get something out of when I jump on. Um, so again, happy to answer any questions that you may have about data professions. I've kind of walked through all the things that I wanted to walk through tonight. But yeah, if anybody has any specific questions on data, if you're stuck with a data problem that maybe you want help working through, post it in the comments. I'm happy to walk through it. And if it's something I already have access to, I will walk through it with that tool. Uh, you know, if you have an Azure question or a AWS question, I could get in, spin up one of those resources, and we'll walk through it. But uh, happy to do that if you've got any of those type of questions, any Python questions, just pop them in the chat. Happy to walk through live how to troubleshoot those things. If you have a query that you want to, yes, I will. I'll still do. The question is, are you going to still do Friday? Yeah. Jumped on tonight just to kind of test the water, see what Tuesday's going to be like. I put a poll out there. I know probably a lot of my people that joined on Friday night answered. I think there are about 19 responses. Most of them said, keep it on Friday night. So I'll keep it on Friday night at 10. Absolutely, absolutely. So I'll be back around then. But wanted to jump on tonight, just kind of ad hoc, see what's going on with everybody. So. Plus, the channel growth kind of slowed down. I wanted to see who'd jump on. I accidentally posted both of my week's videos on Monday, or on Sunday. So it's instead of scheduling them through the week, it was purely accident. But they're out there. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, any other questions? Feel free to pop them in the chat. Yeah, something for me that's come up this week. Yeah, a lot of my content comes from questions that I get from work. There's a guy that I work with that's he's looking to get into data, and he's currently in IT, and we have some great conversations. I love it when he comes over. Add more SQL challenges. Friday night is Gambill night. That's awesome. Yes, we're gonna do some. I'm gonna launch that October SQL challenge, the code challenge, and it's gonna be definitely be a SQL based challenge talking about again SQL optimization and window functions. So uh, so be sure to check that out. I'll trying to wrap up what that looks like and start writing my script. So then I'll put it out probably later towards Friday. Maybe finish recording it Friday and then post it over the weekend. I will say that for those of you that do follow the channel that have been around, um, I am going to be out of town next week, going to uh, Florida. So wish me luck. Hopefully that hurricane won't be blown in. Uh, and so I hope to pre-record a couple of videos and post them next week, but I'll be back in time for next week's Friday Live as well. So Friday night is Camel Night. I love that. Um, that's funny. That's great. But yeah, I do love my Friday night crowd. Y'all are awesome. Everybody, the people that jump in there really ask some great questions, really have some great thought provoking conversations about the SQL profession and how to get into the career, sometimes how to progress through the career, and really great questions about uh, what my experiences have been. And great comments about just encouraging each other. Y'all do a great job of really encouraging each other during those calls as well when people have questions and maybe are struggling through something. So I love it. I love the fact that the community is growing. Everybody seems to be really friendly and helpful. So I couldn't have asked for anything better. So thank you. It really warms my heart that people are joining and contributing and sharing. So yeah, let's talk about math and stats for data professionals. So I'll say that statistics is super important for somebody that is getting into like data science, because you're going to use a lot of statistics in creating models, creating those calculations to do a lot of that predictive analysis. More and more, though, there's so much of it is being done by like the machine learning models and things like that. It's still important to understand those, you know, statistics concepts. Um, you don't, but just like anything else, it's not important for you to memorize you know, some specific formula, right? What's important is that you understand that there's A/B testing, that you understand how to do what a neural network is, that you understand, um, what a regression analysis is, and things like that, and how to do them in different tools. For instance, when I went to and wrapped up my master's degree in data analytics, I took a stats class and I used none of that stats class now, but one of the classes that I did take that I do still use is a SAS class. And so learned how to use SAS in order to do a lot of that analysis and uh, predictive analytics, even to the point where like I went to Western Governors University. And so I've got a certification for SAS business analytics. It's back here somewhere. Um, but but that's a great resource to understand how to use SAS. I've not run into a lot of companies that use it, but they are out there. I've seen them on job recs, but I don't use it personally a whole lot. But I do use it just on the side, just to keep my skills up and to play with. As far as math, Math is important to the extent that you understand things like, you know, algebra, right? Algebra is one of those things that people complain that, why do I have to learn algebra? I'll never use it. And people talk about all the time how they don't use algebra. Well, one, I could guarantee you that almost everybody uses algebra in some form almost every day. Somebody is always out there trying to solve for X, right? They know that they, especially right now, you know that you have $100 and how many gallons of gas can you get for that $100, or how many, how much groceries can you get for that $100? That's algebra. When you're talking about using those tools for, a data profession, we use those tools all the time, right? The concepts that you learn in algebra help you to be a better data engineer, help you to be able to write calculations that solve for X, right? um, Help you to understand the concepts about a window function, right? If you don't understand algebra, you're probably going to struggle with window functions and with SQL. But if you have a decent grasp on at least algebra, then it won't be so difficult. But math is definitely something that we use all the time. You don't necessarily have to remember, be able to rattle off the top of your head what 122 times 54 is, right? We have tools and resources for that. That's we make some of those tools and resources to be able to do that, right? That we build in those queries that say, okay, quantity times price equals total, right? And so we set that all up so that, I mean, that's algebra, right? X plus Y equals C. Um, Same concepts. We're just using actual words and names of fields. Um, that's an excellent question. I love that question because it because people complain about having to learn algebra all the time, and that's always my example. That's always my response for that is talking about algebra and how important algebra is, not just in life, but if you want to move into a data profession. Um, just understanding the concepts, being able to create those more complex SQL statements that are nested, in SQL functions that are, nested inside of each other, um, is a algebra concept as well, right? Um, fancy. What you got? Checked out the Discord and your channel here, but I'm lost. Where can I find your post detailing the September challenge? Oh, let me put that. Let me walk through real quick. Oh, I lost my string. Um, so I'm going to share my screen again. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. Share. Okay. So if you go to the Gambill Data Sphere, if you go to dataengineering.com and haha, that's a good question. I'll get to this one too. Um, and you go to join today. If you've already joined, it'll take me right in the Dick Gamble Data Sphere. This is kind of hard to see, but if you hover over at the top right here and go to Gamble Data Sphere, you'll see monthly code challenges, and it'll say join our monthly code challenge. Oops, and then you could read this a little bit better, and then you go to code challenge details, and you'll see the code challenge for September, and this will walk you through kind of the details. And then these links here, you could download the actual materials, the SQL scripts, the Python script that's optional, and then the data files. The data files are large. I'll put this in the chat so you've got it. And then in addition, if you go to the YouTube channel and go to did I create a playlist for the I thought I created a playlist for the SQL challenges. I meant to create a specific playlist for the sequel challenges. So let's go to videos and do be here 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Hmm. It was fancy. Did I did it not post? Would have been 2 weeks ago. Quick tips for data engineers. There it is. So it's the Unlock SQL Mastery Quick Tips for Data Engineers is the video, and I'm gonna put the link to the video in here too. So I say boom, boom. Uh, and then this is the title of the video in case you get lost. Cool. Thank you, Fancy, for asking. I think I initially named this September Coding Challenge, and I think that vidIQ said that is a horrible title and wanted me to rename it, and I renamed it, and I probably should not have. Probably should have left it at September Coding Challenge. Awesome. Okay, so let's jump back to this question. Work-life balance. How many hours do I dedicate to self-study, my job, and watching watching YouTube? So I'll say that I work 6 to 3, so I have an early shift. Um, I clearly don't sleep. It is 11:18 and I'm awake, and that is generally my MO, which maybe not real healthy, but honestly, I do it because I enjoy this interaction with you all, and and I'm excited to be able to have this opportunity to share my knowledge and to kind of share uh, have these conversations because again, you all I love these conversations that we get to have. But and then how many hours do I dedicate to self study? So I probably spend 10 hours a weekish still on self study, unless there's something that like I'm super excited and passionate about, and then like all of a sudden it consumes all my time because I get lost in it. And but I also have a 9-year-old daughter, and my wife is working on building a barn. And so, because we have 2 horses, and that's a long story, but so definitely have some different things that I also spend time on. Spend time with my wife and my daughter, and family time. So generally, my pattern is that I work 6 to 3 ish, plus or minus a little bit, and then I come home and try to do the YouTube stuff for an hour or two a day, and then usually 5 to 9, 5 to 8 or 9 is family time for whether it be going to softball games for my daughter or having dinner with the family or whatever. And then again, I don't sleep. I've always been kind of a 6ish hour a night sleeper. So I've always been like a 5, 6 an hour a night sleeper. So that helps with having time. Um, but uh, in the evenings, clearly, I either jump on and do a live, or I'll use this time to study and to kind of learn something new, or to practice uh, skills that I have so that I don't use them. That some skills that maybe I don't use currently during the day, um, during my day job. like Azure is, Synapse and Data Factory and Fabric are just not things that I'm in a lot during my data jobs in my day job. So I try to get into them at night. But yeah, awesome. Maybe, maybe poor sleep life balance, but I love it, and I've like I've kind of been following that pattern for a long time now. So I don't know. Before I was doing all these other things, I was working on my master's degree. Before that, I was working on, um, you know, wrapping up my bachelor's degree. And before that, I was, trying to self learn a lot of things and learn how to do and going to take certifications and stuff like that. And before that, I was a teenager and don't remember. But, um, but yeah, the I don't know what my life would be like if I didn't have something that I was learning all the time. And I think that for this career, for this profession, that's something you have to have is that thirst for learning, that drive to continue to learn new things. Um, I think it helps. I think it shows in interviews when you go into an interview if you have that passion. And it again, like I've talked about before, having that passion to learn far outweighs what you know every day of the week. Um, a manager is going to see that and hire you over the person that has a big ego and maybe knows every bit of it. Um, have that passion to learn. Go out and if you could show that you're a self learner, that you have that passion, then it will take you far in life. Uh, not just necessarily in data, but in life. It'll take you far in life. Um, awesome. If y'all have any other questions, be sure to pop them in the chat. Again, y'all are great. We have some great conversations on here when I jump on, so I love it, love it. Um, now that this watching YouTube, I honestly don't watch a ton of YouTube. Uh, I do watch some just to see what other maybe data channels are doing, um, and I have a couple of creators that I watch as well, just to keep up with kind of what they're doing and how they're doing. Just because I got caught up in their stories when I started being a creator as well. Um, but uh, but yeah, I honestly don't watch a lot of YouTube except for I've got some stuff that I watch like for reference, right? Like for instance, before this current job that I'm in now, I didn't use Informatica Power Center ever before. I've used other ETL tools, but never Power Center. Um, okay, yeah. So the question is, what other creators would I follow? I like the Seattle data guy. He's really cool. Um, and then there is, I always forget her name. Hold on. Seattle data guy is really cool. If you haven't checked him out, he does a great job. He used to work for Facebook, and so but now he does consulting, and he's a great person to follow and watch, and he does some really cool interviews with other data professionals. Um, speaking of, as I'm looking up this other person, um, Tech Unicorn, Tech Unicorn Girl, I think is that it. Um, in a couple weeks, I'll be doing a an interview with. There she is. Um, I'll be doing an interview with a pause that. Um, with a mid-career changer. He has an awesome perspective of data guided versus data driven decisions. Um, and I'll be doing that interview in a couple weeks. He's working on his master's in data science and moving from a education background into a data profession. Um, so look forward to that interview. I think it'll be really interesting. I'm super excited about that. Uh, Data with Zach is a good channel too. I do like it, that. I don't watch him as much. I follow him on LinkedIn, but I don't watch a lot of his videos. Um, but yeah, Data with Zach's a good channel. Seattle Data Guy. Um, this this tech unicorn. She's pretty good. And as far as she does a good job of kind of talking through working for you know, a FANG company and kind of the stress that goes along with it. Just in case that's something that you're interested in doing. Um, and then, but my favorite, I don't watch her a whole lot, but my favorite is Seattle Data Guy. He does a great job. Um, who else? Every now and again they'll pop up, and I get excited and be like, "Oh, they put something out." Um, those are the data ones. Those are the tech and data ones that I do. As far as just a creator, um, like not a tech creator, I followed I follow this Page Turner. She's a writer. She does like sci-fi type stuff, writers, but she has a channel on being a creator and not not keeping up with the hype and doing it because you love it, right? And that's why I do it. I mean, I'm sitting at 441 subscribers today, and so our community is growing little by little. It was growing pretty quick there for a couple weeks. But the past week it's kind of died off. But but yeah, that's those are the people that I follow. Unfortunately, my feed gets filled up with other creators. Now, if you want to learn about like this is the tech dad is really cool, but he does more website based stuff, CSS and JavaScript. Um, but the tech dad is pretty cool, and he's cool to watch. He's very charismatic. Um, cool. Well, I appreciate you all jumping on tonight. Thank you. And absolutely, I'll still do Fridays at 10. Uh, that seems to work. I might turn around and jump on Monday on Saturday morning early just to see if anybody new jumps on, but probably just stick with Fridays at 10. That seems to work for everybody, and I seem to get a couple new people each week. So um, that jump onto that we get to have conversations with. So what do y'all have any other people that you follow that are maybe data or tech people that you want to share with me or the group? That data with Zach one's good. I'm gonna put the link for Seattle Data Guy in here too, just in case anybody doesn't have it. Cool. Let's meet at Gamble night. Awesome. Yeah, you crack me up. Uh, all right. Well, I'm gonna jump off here. Probably it's 11:30. Thank you all for jumping on. I appreciate it. Great conversation tonight. I really enjoyed it. Doing these really makes my day. So I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And I will see you Friday night.